In this Blender tutorial, I'll show you how to create this procedural black leather material. And then after we create the procedural material, I'll show you how to join it together into this custom node group so you can customize the look of the material. So we first have this scale value, which you can use to change the size of the entire material. Then we also have just the crack scale, so there's some little bits of cracks there on the leather. Then there's also a dots texture, so you can use that to change the dot scale. And then finally, this Voronoi scale. Then there is the base color, so of course it doesn't have to be black if you don't want to. You could make it more like a dark brown leather, or you could make it more of like a dark red leather, or whatever leather color you want, but it's going to be black as the default. Then we also have the roughness of the leather, and then we also have 3 bump strengths. So the first one is this Voronoi bump strength. You can see what that looks like. Then there's also the dots bump strength, which is that little dots texture. And then at the very end here, there's the cracks bump strength, which is that cracks texture. And if you'd like to help support the channel and purchase this procedural material, you can get that on my Gumroad store and my Patreon page linked in the video description. You can also get all of my materials in my Ultimate Blender Procedural Material Pack, which comes with all of my procedural materials pre-set up for Blender's asset browser with custom thumbnails, sorted catalogs, and customizable node groups. Or you can purchase my procedural material packs, which are just packs of 10 different materials. And to learn how to create more materials, you can check out my Blender Procedural Material Tutorial playlist here on YouTube. So before we make the material, I'll show you what I have set up in the 3D viewport. So I went to the add menu and I went here to mesh and I just added an icosphere, and then right behind me on the add icosphere settings, I turned the subdivisions up to 6 so it is nice and smooth and round, and I also used the object context menu and shaded it smooth, and then I scaled the object down to a 0.2, just a 0.2, press Ctrl A, and then apply the scale, so that's the object's new default size. Then I also added a camera and I just pointed the camera at the object. And if you select the camera and then click over here to go to the object data properties of the camera, I turn the focal length up to 80 just to kind of zoom the camera in a bit. Now for the lighting, I added these different area lights right here. So if you go to the add menu, you can go to light and you can just choose an area light. So for this first area light here, it was kind of on the top pointing down, and I set the power to 100 and it's just a white color. And then for the other area light here, this one is kind of on the back to add just a bit of a rim light kind of here on the back of the sphere. And I set the power to 15 and just gave it a white color. And then also to get some nice realistic lighting, I added in this Photo Studio 01 from polyhaven.com. So the link will be in the description if you want to download the same HDRI. And then to add in the HDRI, you can go here to the world properties. You can click on the yellow dot next to color, and you can choose environment texture, and then just click on the open button and open up the HDRI. And then I just left the strength set to 1. Now to make the background transparent so you can't see the HDRI, you can go up here to the render properties and you can open up the film tab. And if you want to, you can just check mark the transparent button. So the HDRI will still light the scene, but you can't see it in the background. And then also I opened up the color management and I set the view transform to AGX, and I turned the look to very high contrast just to pop out the colors and make it more contrasty and saturated. So I'm in the shading workspace, so I have the 3D viewport right over here and I'm in the rendered mode, and then I have the shader editor right over here. So I'm just going to select the object, we'll click on new to add a new material, and I'm just going to name this black leather. And then I'll also be using the Node Wrangler add-on in the video. So to enable the Node Wrangler, you can click on edit, you can go to the preferences, and then on the add-ons tab just search for node, and you can just enable the Node Wrangler add-on in the user preferences. So I'll close the user preferences. So to start off, I'm going to take the base color here and I'm going to make it fully black. So now it's a nice black color. And then also I'll turn the roughness down to like a 0.4 so it's a little bit more shiny. So let's now start by creating the cracks texture. So for the cracks texture, we're going to search for a Voronoi. Let's drop the Voronoi here, and I can hold down the Control and Shift key and select the Voronoi texture, and that's going to preview it on the object. Now also with the Voronoi texture selected, I'll press Ctrl T, and that is going to add the texture coordinate and mapping, and I'm going to plug the object into the vector because the object coordinates are going to place the texture on the object more evenly. So we can now change the Voronoi settings. So I'm going to take the F2 here, and I'm going to change it to distance to edge, and this will give us some cracks. Then I'm going to turn the scale way up so we can see more of them, so I'll turn it to 150, and I'll turn the detail up to a small value of just like a 0.5, so if you zoom in there, there is a tiny bit of detail, but I'll leave the other settings how they are. Now I want to distort the Voronoi with another texture so it looks kind of distorted and more random. So I'm going to go to the add menu and I'll search for a noise texture, and we'll drop the noise texture down here. And let's Control Shift select the noise texture to preview it. And I'm going to use the same object coordinates. So we'll put the vector into the vector of the noise. And we'll change the noise settings. So I'm going to turn the scale to 30 and I'll turn the detail up to 10 so it is pretty detailed, and I'll leave the other settings how they are. Now this noise texture, we're going to put the factor into the vector of the Voronoi. So now if I preview the Voronoi texture, you can see the noise is distorting it. However, it's way too distorted, so I want it to be more subtle. So I'm going to go to the add menu and I'm going to search for a mix color, and we're going to put the mix color here after the noise. So just stick it right there. And we're going to put the mapping vector, which isn't distorted, into color A, and then the noise texture factor, that is going to go into color B. So now we're mixing between the not distorted texture and the noise, which is distorted. Now in the mix type here, I'm going to change this to linear light, and I can now drag the factor back and forth. So if it's turned to 0, it's not distorted at all, so it's using color A, but then as I turn the factor up more and more, it's using more of color B, which is the noise. Now I'm going to turn this to a very small number of 0.018, so 0.018. So now you can see that the Voronoi texture, the cracks there, they are distorted just a little bit, so it looks more random. Now I want to make the Voronoi more contrasty because I want these cracks to be a lot smaller. So we'll go to the add menu, we're going to search for a color ramp, we'll put this after the Voronoi, and then I'm going to change the values here, these tabs here of the color ramp. So if I drag the white tab over, you can see that's making it more contrasted. So now the black parts are really small, so it's going to make those cracks look really small. So now I want to make another texture, which is going to be kind of like a bumpy random texture. So what I'm going to do is select the Voronoi and the color ramp, and I'm going to duplicate them. So hit Shift D, we'll drop it down here, and I'll Control Shift select the color ramp. First, let's make the color ramp less contrasty. So I'm going to drag the white tab maybe over here, and the black tab, I'll kind of drag this over to about here. And then we need to change the Voronoi settings, and I also do want to use the object coordinates. So for now, let's just take the mapping vector and put that into the vector of the Voronoi. And then to change the Voronoi settings, we'll click on the distance to edge, and I'm going to turn this to F1 instead. And now you can see that better. So now what I'm going to do is drag the black tab kind of do about there, and the white tab kind of do about there. And then we can change the settings. So I want to make this a bit bigger. So this Voronoi scale is going to be 200, so it's a bit smaller, but then I'll leave the other settings how they are. Now I also want to distort this texture so it looks just more distorted and random, but I want to distort it a bit more than this linear light, which isn't too distorted. So I'm going to select the linear light and I'll press Control Shift D. So Control Shift D is going to duplicate the nodes, but it will keep the wires plugged up. And I'll just drop this down here, and we can take the result and we can replace it for the vector. So this way we're still using the mapping, but this noise texture is going through the mix here, the linear light, so the noise texture is distorting it a little bit. And then of course I can use the same value, so the factor, and if it's 0, it's not distorted at all, but then as I turn up more and more, it's going to be more distorted. So I'm going to turn this to a 0.07, just a 0.07, so now you can see it looks kind of distorted and random. And I actually think that using the color of the noise texture looks a little bit better from the factor. The factor is the same texture, but it's black and white, and the color one has color values. So I'm just going to replace the color here into color B. So I'm just replacing that factor, and the same thing for this one here. So I'm going to use the color instead, put that into color B. So we're using the color instead of the factor. Now I'm also going to add one more Voronoi texture, which is going to be some little dots. Because if you look really close up at leather, usually it has a bunch of little circles or little dots. So we're going to take one of these Voronois, I'm going to duplicate it with Shift D, and we're just going to drop it down here. Now if you select the Voronoi texture, you can hit the backspace, and that's going to reset all the settings, so it's back to the default. So now here on the scale, I'm going to turn this to like 1000 on the scale. If I Control Shift and select it to preview it, you can now see it's really small. And also let's use the same mapping here and texture coordinate, because I want to use the object coordinates. So we'll put the mapping vector into the vector there, so it's using the object coordinates. But now by turning the scale to 1000, it's going to be a really small texture. But then I do want to add just a little bit of detail, so I'll turn the detail to like a 0.5. So now you can see that each one of those dots just has a tiny little bit of detail if you zoom up close. So that's it for the textures. So we have this group of textures, we have this group of textures, and then we have this group of textures. So we're going to be putting these all into the bump to give it some nice detail on the bump. So to put it into the normal here, we first need to search for a bump node. So add the bump node, and we need to use use the bump node because this here is normal data, it's a purple dot, but then this here is black and white data because it's gray, or it's color because it is yellow. And so we need to convert the black and white data or the color data into normal data that the shader can use. So because we have 3 different textures here, we're going to be using 3 different bumps. So first, let's just Control Shift select the principled shader, and then I'm going to take the first bump normal, and we're going to put that into the normal. Then we're going to take the bump node and I'll hit Shift D to duplicate it. We'll drop it here after the first one, and then again Shift D to duplicate, and we'll drop it here after this one. So you can now see we have 3 different bump maps. And so to convert the textures into bump data, we're going to put them into the height value. So if I Control Shift select this last bump here, you can see here it is right now. It looks really smooth. So for the first one, we're going to take this one here, which is this Voronoi texture here. This is the cracks. So we're going to put the color into the height value. And now you can see it looks really bumpy there on the surface, but that is a bit too strong. So I'm going to take the strength and turn it down to like a 0.15, so you can now see it's much more subtle. Now for the second one, we're going to take this bottom Voronoi here, which is the dots. So we'll take the distance value and we're going to put that into the height value of this second bump. So now if I zoom in, you can see it looks really bumpy. There's all these little dots, but you can see the dots are going back in instead of popping out. So we're going to turn on this invert button, and now you can see all those little dots there are popping out instead of going back in. And it's also a bit too strong, so I'm going to make it the same strength value. I think a 0.15 looks pretty good. So now you can see that there's just those little dots there on top of those cracks. And then finally, the last one is just this Voronoi, which is just kind of a random texture. So we're going to put the color ramp color here into the height value of the final bump. And now you can see that adds a lot more detail, but it is way too strong. So I'm going to turn the strength to like a 0.1. Now I find that also turning this one with the inverted on looks a bit better. If I just turn up the bump strength, you can see here it is inverted and here it is without. So I actually like the inverted. I'm going to keep it inverted. And then of course the strength at a 0.1. So we now have 3 different bumps here, adding a lot of detail to the surface of the leather. So I can Control Shift select the principled shader, and there we go. There is our finished detailed black leather material. So if I zoom in really close, you can kind of see we have those dots there and also kind of just the random texture. But then if you zoom out a bit, you can definitely see all those little cracks there on the surface of the leather. So that's it for the procedural material. So we're now going to join it together into a custom node group. So we're going to click and drag to box select all the nodes except the material output. And we're going to press Ctrl G, and Ctrl G will join it together into a node group. Let's hit the tab key to go outside the node group, and I'll drag the node group over here next to the material output. Now let's just drag it out to make it a bit bigger. And then if I just hit Ctrl C here to copy the material name, I can click here and press Ctrl V just to paste that. So now the node group is called black leather as well as the material. So let's hit the tab key to go into the node group, and I'll hit the N key to open up the side panel. And if you click on the group tab, we have the group sockets. And so we can plug up all the custom values and control them outside the node group. But first, what I want to do is change the name here. So if I double click on it to rename it, I'll just call it shader because I like that better. Now, if I go right over here, we have the group input. And so we can plug all the values into the group input to control them outside of the node group. So this mapping node is plugged up to all the textures. So the scale value is going to control the size of the entire material. So let's put the scale into the group input here. And then if we click on the scale, it's going to be 3 values, but instead of it being 3 values, I want it to be 1 value. So we'll click on the type here, and we're going to change it to float, and that's just going to make it 1 value. Now on the default value, I want to turn this to 1, but you can see the texture is still missing. That's because we need to hit the tab key to go outside the node group, and we need to turn the scale back to 1. So now that's going to control the size of the entire material. So we'll hit tab to go back into the node group. Now the next value that I want to control is the crack scale. So if I drag the group input up here to this top Voronoi, we have this scale value. So we'll put that into the extra socket, and we'll double click on this to rename it, and we'll rename this to cracks scale. Then the next one that I want to control is the dot scale. So we'll drag the group input down here, and we can take the Voronoi scale, this bottom one, we'll put the scale into the extra socket, and let's double click on this to rename it, and I'll rename it to dot scale. And then the last one is going to be the Voronoi scale here in the middle. So we'll put the scale into the extra socket, and this one you could rename it to like leather scale or whatever you want to call it. I'm going to call it Voronoi scale. Now if you want to, you could also control a lot of the other values. You could control the roughness values and the detail values. You could also control the factors here of these linear lights if you want to distort them more, or also this noise scale. And I think actually controlling the top linear light might be kind of useful. For the other ones, it doesn't seem to change the material that much. It doesn't make the material look too different, but we do have this linear light factor, and that is making the cracks more or less distorted. So we'll put the factor into the extra socket, and this one, I'll rename this to cracks distortion. So of course you can add in any of the other values if you want to. But I'm now going to drag the group input right over here, and we can take the base color, put that into the extra socket, and then also the roughness, we can put that into the extra socket. And then finally, I want to control the 3 bump strengths. So the first one here, this is the cracks bump strength. So we're going to put the strength into the extra socket. Let's drag this down so we can see it. And this one, I'm going to rename to cracks bump strength. Then for the next one here, this is going to be the dots, because you can see the dots texture is going into it. So I'll put the strength into the extra socket. And this one, I'm going to rename to dots bump strength. And then the last one here was just that Voronoi, so I'll put the strength into the extra socket. And this one I'll just rename to Voronoi bump strength. Okay, I'll drag the group input right back over here. I'll hit the N key to close the side panel, and I'll hit the Tab key to go outside the node group. And there's the final material, so we can just review the material settings. So we have the scale to change the size of the entire material. Then we also just have the crack scale, and the dot scale, and the Voronoi scale if you do want to change that. And then we also have the cracks distortion, so if I turn this down, you can kind of see the cracks a little bit better. But I like having a little bit of distortion because it makes them a bit more random. Then we have the base color, so of course you could make this like any leather color you want. I think making kind of like a really dark brown looks pretty nice, or you could also make like a dark red. That looks pretty cool. Then we have the roughness of the material, and then we have the cracks bump strength, we have the dots bump strength, and then also the Voronoi bump strength. So that'll be it for this tutorial, so I hope you found this helpful, and thank you for watching. And if you'd like to help support the channel and purchase this procedural material to use in your projects, you can get that on my Gumroad store and my Patreon page. Links are in the description. And if you like using procedural materials in your projects, then definitely check out my Ultimate Blender Procedural Material Pack, which comes with all of my materials, pre-set up for Blender's asset browser, with custom thumbnails, sorted catalogs, and customizable node groups. And you'll also get future updates with new procedural materials. You can also check out my procedural material packs, which are just packs of 10 different materials. And you can also purchase any of my materials individually on my Gumroad store. And to learn how to create more materials, you can check out my Blender procedural material tutorial playlist here on YouTube. So I hope you found this helpful, and thanks for watching.